Hi guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, you are highly welcome. And welcome to another palette ranking. I've changed a few things while filming today, so I've only got one of my lights on, and because I'm filming in the daylight, so I'm letting the side from the window there's no light on there, so it's natural lighting from this side and then it's artificial lighting from that side. So please let me know if it's kind of different. I'm trying to save cost. As you know, cost of energy has gone up, so I'm trying to make sure I film during the day and sort of limit the light I'm using. But anyway, that's by the way. Just let me know if it's off. If it's off, then I'll go back to using both lights. So these are all the palettes I used in February. 3 of them are palettes that I built myself, so they are not pre-made palettes, they are palettes I built myself, which I kind of did a lot of that in February. So I just want to quickly touch on that just to keep you in the loop. So February to me was a very low month. As you know, it's the anniversary of my dad's death, so that kind of brought me down. And then I did about 2 collabs on Instagram, you know, building a palette and creating the look out of it. So for me, those were like a saving grace because it kept me busy and it kept my mind busy. And even after the anniversary, with everything that was happening in the world, I just kind of spiraled a little and I was down. I just didn't want to do anything. In fact, I did for about 2 weeks flat. I did not put any bit of makeup on my face, not powder, nothing. I was just in a very low place and down place, and the only thing that really kind of helped me was building my palette. So I don't know, anybody that might be feeling in the same place that I am, just know that you are not alone. I mean, it's one thing to come and talk about makeup, but it's another to also talk about, you know, how we feel, our well-being, and mental health basically. So if right now you are in the place I was, just know that there's a finish line. You know, there is a finish line. There's a time that you will get out of feeling that kind of feeling. And what really helped me is really relying on God, really, and doing things that I love, trying to distract myself, you know, from thinking about all those thoughts that brings me down, and just kind of think about and do things that are more exciting for me to try and bring me out of, you know, what I'm feeling and the mood that I am in. So I just thought I'll get that out there, just so you know that not everybody's happy all the time. There are times that we are down. You just have to own it, you know. But the most important thing is don't stay there. Just try and get up, do whatever you can do to get yourself out of that hole. If you need to call somebody, speak to somebody, please do, which I did. Spoke to my family, you know, spoke to people, you know, just to try and get myself out of it. And yeah, so I'm feeling much better now, and I'm getting back into the groove of creating looks, you know, and just enjoying life generally. So without further ado, let's get into the ranking. Alright, I'm going to be talking about 8 palettes today. So in 8th place is the Darth Vader palette that I built. So this is the Colourpop dupe of the Darth Vader palette. I kind of thought it was interesting, especially because of the pop of red in that palette. But this shade, I think they went burgundy and not black, but I put black in mine. And the only reason I'm ranking this in the last position, well, out of all the palettes I use, which is the 8th position, is because I'm not really into grays. I mean, I love the red. I wish I could have done just, you know, purely red look and then darken my outer edge with black, but I went for the grays. I tried to kind of like get out of my comfort zone and use all the shades, which to me I didn't really enjoy. I did it, but I don't. It's not one of my favorite looks, and I'm hoping that you can see the look right up there. But yeah, so I didn't really like the outcome or even enjoy the process of applying the shadows on my eye. I mean, nothing wrong with the shades. I mean, it's on my Instagram. All this is on my Instagram. The swatches, the names of the shades, they're all on my Instagram. So the Colourpop Darth Vader dupe palette is my number 8. In 7th and 6th place are going to be my Icona palette and my OPV Bloom palette. The reason why I'm showing you at once, which I will explain separately, is because I use them for the same look. So let's start with number 7. The one I'm ranking in at number 7 is the Icona palette from Shrek Cosmetics, and the reason why I'm ranking this lower than the Bloom, which I mean I use for the same look, I should probably be ranking them the same, is that this green is it was okay, but it was less easy to use than the OPV. So I mainly kind of used the green shades really for the look that I created, and I found the Bloom palette easier to use than this green. I mean, I've only used one shade in this palette, so I can't really, actually 2. I used this one and this kind of bluish one. Kind of mixed it together, so I can't really judge on the performance of the palette, but in terms of the shades I used, I'm gonna rank this at number 7. Alright, number 6, OPV Bloom palette. Okay, I used 3 shades in this palette. So it's this teal kind of color, this green, and then this green. They were such a joy to use. In fact, if I bring you closer, you can probably see a little bit of deep in that shade. I kind of went a little bit, I got carried away because it was so beautiful on the eyes. You know, I put it on the outer edge. I really enjoy using this palette. Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to doing more looks with this palette, but for the particular look I did, I just used those 3 green shades. So I'm ranking the OPV Bloom palette in the 6th position. Alright, in 5th place is the Enduring Love palette, which is one of my panning palettes. So I decided to use it during the week. I think this was like early February when I did this look, so it was like a weekly look. I didn't use any eyeshadow primer or any basic thing. I just kind of like wanted to see what the colors will apply like on my eyes, and so it was during the week, so I didn't do anything like over the top in terms of prepping my lid before using this palette. So I'm not going to judge the palette based on that. But for the look I created, I'm going to rank it at number 5, and I mainly used I think 1 or 2 of the brown shades. Then I used these 2 shimmers, one on each lid, so it's like a 2-toned colored eye look. So these are the 2 shades I put on my lid, and I really enjoy this green so much more than the pink one. Oh, look at that. That is gorgeous. So those were the 2 shimmers I put on my lid, so I really definitely enjoy it. So I'm ranking the Enduring Love palette in 5th place. Alright, in 4th place is going to be the Still Pretty palette from September Rose. So this is the palette I got for Valentine, and they released it around Valentine time, and I did do a video with this palette, so it's definitely number 4. And the reason why I'm ranking it number 4 is just because of one shade, because of this shade, and it's because I wish it was darker in the palette. So it's all good to have red and pinks and whatever, but if you don't have something to darken it with, even though that look I did darken it with the shimmer, but I would have preferred to darken it, you know, with a matte. And I'm going to swatch this and compare this to a shade that I wish had come with this palette. So this one, so it looked deep in the pan, I mean, and this is it. This is what that swatch is like. So it's still pink at the end of the day, and it's not really a dark pink. I'm going to compare it to the darkest shade in the new Beauty Bay Berries palette, and it's this one. This is the shade I wish was in that palette, and look at that compared to the darkest shade in that Still Pretty palette. I mean, look at that darker one. Just look at this palette and imagine that shade was in this palette. It would have been perfect. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do love this palette and I enjoyed using it. The formula is out of this world. They are so beautiful. The shimmers, the mattes, absolutely beautiful. That is the one but that if I wanted to do like a full look with this palette, you know, like a beautiful look like I would want to create, I have to find, you know, a deeper pink to use with the palette, and that's the only but. So Still Pretty palette is in the 4th position. Alright, in top place is Odin's Eye Saga of Freya palette. So it's this double one that I used. I used one side of the double one, but I did use one shade in the Tears of Freya palette. So I did use this pink in that look, so I thought it was worth mentioning, but I'm not going to put this in the ranking because I only used one shade. So I just thought I'll show you the extra shade I used. So the one I'm ranking in 3rd place is this one, and this was the side I used. So absolutely beautiful. So compared to the Still Pretty palette that I just showed you, you can see that this has got like a darkening shade, this shade here. So these are all the 3 mattes. My finger is kind of stained, but as you can see there is depth. So this is so much darker than the medium shade of pink. So this was all I put on my main lid, and I used this in my outer corner. So there is depth in this palette. Yeah, so there is definitely depth in this palette, and I really enjoyed using it. I mean, besides the lighter pink which I used to blend the darker pink that I reached for in the other palette, you know, this palette was sufficient for my look, and you know, I enjoyed it. And Odin's Eye formula, they are just so beautiful. They blend so well. The mattes, the shimmers, they are also beautiful as well. So I definitely enjoy using this palette. Alright, the palette I'm ranking at number 1 and 2 are palettes that I built myself. So I'm going to start with my number 2, which I've kind of dismantled both of them. So I'm going to leave a picture of the palette on the screen for you to see. So both of these palettes are actually on my Instagram. I swatched them with names and I thoroughly enjoyed them. So I did 2 posts. I did one post first for the palette, swatching it, then we did a second post creating a look behind that palette. So it was a collaboration between myself and 3 other ladies on Instagram. So please, if you're not following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram so you don't miss any of my posts. I do build a lot of palettes just to save money. You cannot imagine how much money I've saved this year already by building my own palette, and you know, just making things perfect. And it was fun because it was using my stash, it was saving money, it was just literally fun. But I must admit, a little bit of hard work. I don't know how people do it, you know, people that influencers that are usually posting all the time on Instagram. I don't know how they did it, because it was quite a lot of work to get in the shade names, especially if you're putting it on the picture itself and not just typing it in your description. It is very difficult. So, but I had fun. Like I said, it was a way of me coping at that time, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, so number two was my Valentine palette, and this was the one with mainly red shades. I think the palette consisted of 13 Tamitanuka shades, and the other shades were, I believe, Terramoons. I can't remember, but check my Instagram page. But I mainly built it around red tones and you know, all the kind of shades I enjoy, even though I did put a little bit of purple in it, yeah, to kind of like bring the palette down to earth. The look I created at the end of the day, I would have loved to do more. I would have loved to be able to incorporate the purple into the reds, which I didn't do at the time. I mainly based the eye look on red tone. So for me, I just felt like I could have done better, you know, with the look. Not the fault of the shades or anything. If you haven't tried Tamitanuka shades, oh, you don't know what you are missing. These shimmers, they are out of this world. So they are powder pigments that I had to press myself, but I honestly enjoyed the process of the pressing. I enjoy what the shadows look like after pressing. It's just a whole therapeutic, you know, way of enjoying makeup, really. You know, pressing your shadows, and the shadows are just so beautiful. So if you haven't tried Tamitanuka, you are missing. So it wasn't really about the shades. I enjoy the shades so much. Just have a look at my swatches. They are beautiful. But the look, I just felt I didn't do it enough justice. So I have to be true to myself. Even though that palette is my favorite and red is my favorite color, I just feel like that look didn't deserve to be, you know, in my top position. So I'm definitely ranking that palette in at number 2. So the palette I'm ranking at number 1 is actually the anti-Valentine palette, which I wasn't expecting it to turn out that way at all. The look I created with that palette, I really enjoyed. So it was mainly made of purples. If you know me, you know I don't really like purples, especially certain tones of purples. I do love some certain tones of purple, and the singles I actually used for that look, they were the kind of purples I like. So for me, I actually enjoyed creating a look with that anti-Valentine palette more than I did with my Valentine palette. So I had to give it top position. It was all purple palette. So if you love purples, you are gonna love that palette that I created. It's all labeled, all swatched on my Instagram. Have a look, and you can see the look on the screen as well. I really enjoyed myself with that. I had to stop myself at some point, as in, you've done enough. The look is fine. Just leave it the way it is. I definitely had fun creating that look. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna give my anti-Valentine palette the top position in February. Okay, so those are all the palettes I used in February. Like I said, I didn't do as many looks as I could have done because of whatever circumstances, but those were the 8 palettes that I created and the looks I created with them. Alright guys, so those are all the palettes I used in February. Like I said, 3 of them were built by myself from my stash. Let me know what you think about that. Is this something that you enjoy and would like to see more of on my channel, or you just want mainstream palette that has been pre-made? Just let me know your opinion in the comment section. But these are all the palettes I used, and that's my ranking of them. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I'll see you.